am Paranormal Pete, and I'm on a journey to seek answers to the questions that have crossed all of our minds. What happens to us when we die? Is there an afterlife? I'm a regular guy who discovered the gift of psychic mediumship in my 30s. My passion for history and the unknown have put me right here, right now. My mantra for anything paranormal is, we don't know much and anything is possible. Join me as we find our way through the stories, evidence, and experiences of the paranormal and beyond in search of answers, even if that leads to more questions. Are you with me? Hey everybody, welcome to the Paranormal Pete Show. I'm your host, Pete Orbea. We're here on sacredspiralnetwork.com. If you have not found that website yet, go check it out. There's tons of great shows on this network, and so many things you can learn and take with you each week. So if you found my show, I hope you found sacredspiralnetwork.com. Follow me on the socials. I don't do a lot of social media, but facebook.com, Paranormal Pete Show. You'll find me there. And I'm out in Little Port Gamble, Washington. So in the Puget Sound area, and I've got some people checking in. Yeah, comment, say hi, say where you're from. Jason, what's up? Good friend of the show. Thanks for watching. And if you're on YouTube, make sure that you comment #live, because that will help the tentacles of the algorithm for people to find the show. So we're going to be bringing on a good friend of the show, a good friend of mine, and Ben Robison tonight. I'm looking forward to talking to him. It's been a while. So he's been on my show previously, I think probably a couple of years ago. So excited to have him on tonight. Katie, thanks for watching. And Mr. Michael White, hello, my brother. All right, thanks for watching, Michael. Also a good friend of the show here. I've got so many good friends of the show. Thanks to everybody who watches each week or watches replays, or maybe you just listen to the audio version. But thank you guys so much. And I'm always grateful for the community, I guess, of the paranormal community of the Pacific Northwest. There's so many great people. So I'm super grateful to be a part of it. Got MJ checking in here from YouTube. Right on. Thanks. But go ahead and comment. You can join the conversation, ask questions. I'm hoping I can stump Ben at some point during the show. I like to try and stump my guests, and so it's going to be hard though. It'll be a challenge for me. Got a few things going on. My band Steady Rock Cosmonaut, we just played last weekend. We got a couple shows coming up, September 11th in Kingston, Washington at the filling station. And we're also playing September 19th at Valhall Brewing in Paulsbo for Oktoberfest. So a couple of gigs coming up in September. And yes, I'm using my show to shamelessly promote my band. If you like the intro song of this show, that's our song Magic. It's one of my most favorite ones that we play. So I got a lot coming up. Got my, I guess, 15th or 16th season of doing ghost walk tours here in Port Gamble. Been doing them for a long time. It's, I look forward to every season. There's always new stories to share. And I've got one that I'll share tonight that just happened a couple weeks ago, which I think was pretty cool. And I'll tell you where to find it when the episode comes out. But lots going on. Ghost walks will be every Friday and Saturday in October, with the exception of Halloween, because I think I'll be doing a special investigation that night, kind of late night, which will be a lot of fun. I've had pretty good activity on Halloween night. I guess it's, as they say, the veil is thin. So anyways, it's going to be a lot of fun. And then I'll do a tour and a special investigation once a month pretty much November through April, and then a couple of summer ones. So go to portgambleparanormal.com. It's under my name here, and that's where you can find tickets and dates. I haven't got my fall season up yet, but probably, I would imagine this weekend I'll be able to get it done. So stay tuned there if you want to take a tour. It's a 3-hour tour. So it's history and lots of ghost stories, and you get to investigate and explore a little bit too in the famed Walker Ames house. So hopefully check that out, portgambleparanormal.com. And of course, we've got our ghost conference in Port Gamble coming up. It's our 17th annual. It's been going on for a long time. I'm just honored and grateful that I get to kind of help put it together and MC it. My good friend Jason Hassler of Hassling the Paranormal radio show. He's usually a co-MC for the event because I can't be in more than one place at one time, or at least I haven't figured out how to do that yet. So that's coming up November 6th through the 8th, and it's right here in Port Gamble. So you want to go to portgamble.com to find information out about that. We've got a few people checking in. Michael says Ben is unstumpable. We'll see. We got Hoot checking in from YouTube. Thanks for watching. And Richard Hassler, I skipped the gym for this. You guys better rock it. Well, now we're going to be extra boring just for you, Richard. Good friend of the show here. And Jason sign us up for Halloween. All right, on. And so Hoot is Leslie. Hello. Thank you. And Michael saying 17th. Yes, it is the 17th annual Ghost Conference. So, yeah, I can't believe it. I've been working on it for quite a long time. But again, what a wonderful community. If you've never been to a ghost conference, you should check it out. Hopefully you'll come to this one. It's about connecting people with shared experiences and being able to talk about your experiences and share them without judgment. I think that's pretty powerful when it comes to things of the unknown, whether it's cryptids, UFOs, or ghosts, anything paranormal. I think it's good to be able to share your experience without judgment, which sometimes can help give you some clarity and some different perspectives. So if you go to this one, then this conference, then hopefully you'll go to the Oregon Ghost Conference, which is coming up in March 2027 in Seaside, Oregon. That's OregonGhostConference.com. They've just launched a new website. So check that out. And yeah, it's always a lot of fun. We got another person checking in. Nikki, hey Pete, thanks for watching. Well, I'm going to introduce our guest tonight, very special guest, and then bring him on. And just to tell a little bit about him, he was born and raised in the Pacific Northwest, where stories of ghosts, Bigfoot, and UFOs are basically a part of the landscape, and they surely are. His childhood had a fair number of strange occurrences, including a firsthand encounter in the Olympic Peninsula that sure wasn't a bear. For those of you who are into Bigfoot research and stuff, you should know the Olympic Peninsula. Because of those experiences, it made him a concurrent believer and a skeptic, which is exactly the foundation he worked from today. Having a background in tech, he leveraged those to assist him in his research and investigative approach on each case study. Ben's goal is to apply logic, methodology, and critical thinking to his paranormal work. Let's give a big round of applause. Big Paranormal Pete Show welcome to Ben Robison. What's up, Ben?
I'm sorry. My name is Inigo.
Excuse me, sir?
May I see your right hand, please? I do believe you might have an extra digit, and maybe that's why you're such a badass at that base.
Oh, my God. Yeah, right. But thank you. Well, welcome to the show, Ben. Inigo. I guess we're going to prepare to die this evening. Always fun to have you on, and just even separate from the show, always great to talk to you, and paranormal stuff, music, whatever. It's just always fun to talk to you. So I'm glad to have you on tonight. And okay, Jason's giving some applause. Robin checking in. Hey, Chad, thanks for watching. And Jason Hassler checking in. Good friend of the show here. Right
Nice.
on. Hey,
Hello,
Jason.
everyone.
Yeah, well, welcome to the show, Ben.
Thank you.
So you're a Pacific Northwest guy.
Yes, sir.
You know, I grew up in Idaho, so, I don't know if that
We share
counts.
that as well. I mean,
I don't know if
I
that
lived
counts, but
in Kamei, Boise, and Mountain Home. So yeah, I've got some
yeah.
background with Idaho as well.
Yeah.
So
Does that count Pacific Northwest? Does that count
I think
for,
it does, actually. I
I think
think
it
it's
does.
the 3 states, Washington,
Yeah.
Oregon, and Canada.
Yeah, I think so. Good. Well, that makes me feel better. But there wasn't a lot going on, weird stuff down where I was, except for ghost stuff. But did you grow up kind of hearing stories just from like people in your vicinity? People,
Yeah.
family, friends. What
Certain people,
certain?
certain people in the family. My mother definitely one. My father was as well. It's like, talking about other aspects of the paranormal, like UFOs and stuff like that. But not everybody in the family was, open to this kind of,
Yeah.
topic or whatever. But my mom was always immersed into it, and it was part of me too. It's in my blood. So
Yeah. Yeah. That's like Star Wars for me. That was what I was talked to about a lot when I was young. And
yeah,
so when you're growing up and you're hearing these things, I mean, I'd always heard, stories about UFOs and things like that. And I feel like I saw some strange lights when I was a kid, out playing in the driveway in the evening and seeing weird stuff. But were you I mean, what was your first take on hearing all that? Were you scared? Were you nervous, or were you interested?
um, I think everything, because you're scared, the shock value, right? But then obviously it's like I don't know if this is a good comparison or not, but it's kind of like similar to when you try a pickle for the first time and you're like, that's really sour, but man, I want more. It was scary. It made me nervous. It made me intrigued. It made me want to, like, you know, see more. So,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah,
yeah,
I think that is a precursor to your curiosity, right? Later in life, and as you get older, I think that's all, that's all a part of the
comes,
thread.
yeah, it comes full circle.
Yeah. So anybody watching or listening out there, if you've had an experience, whether we'll just call it a paranormal experience, something not normal. Do you remember it? Were you scared or more interested, or both, when you had your first experience that you were conscious of? It's always interesting to hear different takes on it and how people felt. Um, Tell us about your encounter that you don't it wasn't a bear. Tell us that story from the Olympic Peninsula. And are you able to share um, where on the Olympic Peninsula?
Well, I did preface with my name, Prepare to Die. So if I tell you,
Okay. I knew it was
um,
one of those, dang it.
no, yes, I can definitely tell you. So, in I would say the late 80s, 88 maybe. Um, I lived up in an area in the Olympic Peninsula called Matlock, Washington. A lot of people know it also on the map as Elma. Um,
Oh, yeah, okay. I know
to
that.
give you an idea, like the center of town, and I think it's still this way in 2026 for the most part, is an intersection. I think essentially a four-way, and it has like this 100-year-old mercantile store that, I mean, back in the 80s, it not only was it where you went to get groceries, your alcohol, your smokes, your newspaper, your mail. It was a mail center, and you could rent movies. So it was
Uh,
way out there. It was
yeah.
logging country.
Yeah.
And so in that time, I was able to, yeah, I was 12 years old. Um, in the state of Washington, they still allowed at that time a hardship license, which I was granted. And I think it was like one of the last years that they ever did this. And so, anyways, I um, was taking a gentleman out to the woods. This sounds so sketch. Um, Taking a man out to the woods so he could pick ferns, salal, mushrooms, all sorts of stuff. Most of it was for florists. And I remember one time we were working on the set for the forest scene in Star Wars for the Ewoks and
Return of the
stuff.
Jedi. Yeah.
Yeah, and so we, that was part of some of the stuff I remember we were getting to do work for. But I would drop him off there. I think I'd go back and do chores or do whatever a kid does, watch TV, and then at some point I would go pick him up. So here I am at 12 operating a vehicle. It was an old
Yeah.
Dodge flatbed, and so I was on my way to go get him. Now this time of year, it was, I would say, it had to have been fall, if late fall, if not beginning of winter.
Okay.
So I'm driving down this highway, 2-lane highway, and on the right hand side is untouched forest that had not been logged yet. On the
Okay.
left hand side, it had been logged, so you got stumps and debris piles and stuff. And
Yeah.
so I'm driving down it, and it's this nice straight road, and it's starting to snow, and it's actually sticking to the pavement. And coming out of the left side in that clear-cutted area, I saw a very dark colored all the way, I mean, head to toe. I couldn't see features. I could see things like the arms and legs and the head, but the body mass, but like I really
Yeah.
couldn't like make out any other details because
Okay.
I guesstimate, and mind you, I'm a 12-year-old kid. A mile is what I thought.
Yeah.
And it comes up over the road, goes across that highway, and I think it didn't even do, I don't even know if it did maybe three strides across a 2-lane highway before it was over into the unlogged area on the right. And so
Yeah.
I pull up to the area about where I thought it crossed, because I was like, well, the snow's sticking, and I'm not gonna lie, the very first thought through my mind was that was a Bigfoot. So I pull up there. I couldn't see anything at all, and I'm looking kind of a little bit down and behind me, but I really didn't have a lot of time to survey this situation because another vehicle coming the same direction as me was coming up behind me, so I had to jump back in and continue on my way. So that was that. Now my mother will tell you, and she's on here. Hi, Mom. We were camping also in the Columbia River Gorge near forgive me, I'm trying to remember, Beacon Rock, or not
Okay.
Beacon Rock. Yeah, I think Beacon Rock, obviously on the Washington. So there was a campground out there called Beaver Creek, and I guess we were camping out there, and some things happen, that my mother says, definitively let them know that they were dealing with Sasquatch, and us kids witnessed it and everything. So, but that's the reason why I don't really bring that up, is because I was so small and young at that time. That's a memory I don't recall. Whereas the one up in Matlock in the Olympic Peninsula, I do recall that very well.
Yeah.
And Michael, the reason why he crossed the road was to get over to the concert where Pete's band's playing. So
Yeah. So he went from the clear cut side into the uncut side.
yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know
The hide, yeah.
where he was really coming from, or if going back or what, but or she, for that matter. I don't know any of that. That's about all I know.
Yeah, that's
And that's
cool.
my story, and I'm sticking to it.
That's really cool.
It
Wow.
was really cool. Yeah.
Um, Michael's got a new idea for a product at the general store, I guess. Paranormal pickles, from when you first tried a pickle, you know. We got Tanya.
You'll
Yeah.
sure not to try them again.
We got Tanya checking in from Perth, from Western Australia. Welcome.
Hi, Tanya.
And Kay Weezy, good friend of the show. I don't think I'll be doing readings tonight, but thanks for tuning in anyways. Kira, I had posted the question earlier about if you remember your first experience. Were you scared or more interested or both? So in her first experience, was super excited and so glad to finally know for sure that she can see ghosts. It's the only one she ever saw, and saw it twice in total. That's pretty cool. And around 25 years old. So thanks for sharing. Anybody else wants to share if they were scared or if they were
Sorry.
nervous or whatever?
My mother. It was Swift Creek. And she's right. She told me this and corrected me, and I keep saying it was out there on the Columbia Gorge. But no, it was actually north of where I'm at here, like out by the reservoirs, like Crescent Bay and anyways, out that way. So
wow.
So
okay, well there you go. That's what mom's.
It was remote, that's for sure.
And we got Kelly checking in. Hello, thanks for watching. Michelle, good friend of the show, checking in. And we'll have to have Michelle and Brian on. They've got a new podcast, so we'll have to have them on sometime. But thanks for watching. Jason's got a question, Ben. Did you ever return either at the time or now, see if you could have another experience like that?
I'm assuming, he's talking about the one driving down the road. I've driven down that road as an adult years later. Nothing happened, of course, but now that you bring that up, Jason, I actually I like this idea. And actually it gives me time because, I could September or October-ish, maybe try to do that, on a day where it's, kind of starting to snow and see what happens. Now, I don't know. I can't it's been way over a decade since the last time I was up in that area as an adult. So I don't know if they've built homes or businesses along that road or not. I couldn't tell you.
That'd be interesting. It's an interesting thought to go back to a place where you had an experience and you weren't sure about what happened, but it was, I would say yours would be kind of intense to see something like that. My adrenaline, I'm pretty sure, would have been pumping. See something that big, but that's an interesting thought to go back. We often go to, like in my case, I'm always here in Port Gamble, so I go to the Walker Ames house a lot, and you try and go back and ask the same questions you did last time when you captured some evidence, and so you want to try and recreate it, but it'd be interesting in an outdoor setting for something like that. I've got another question related to cryptids, and I often will ask guests about this just to kind of see what you think. I think there's two major camps on Bigfoot, right? There's Bigfoot is a relict hominid, a relict species. And then Bigfoot is, interdimensional.
Right.
I think it's kind of like politics almost with the two camps. They're very, I think it seems very one way or the other. And if you believe it's a relic species, then there's no way it could be, interdimensional, and vice versa. What's your opinion on that? I mean, where do you stand on that? Is it interdimensional, or maybe, not from this planet, or is it a relic species?
I'll preface by saying, I think, honestly, we don't have enough information yet, right? And so my answer is based on what little information I know about, and my experiences and whatnot and research. But I think it's more likely that this is an undiscovered relic hominid species. And I think that's the one that really gets people riled up, I think, the most.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because, I grew up around a ton of people who were claimed to, grew up in the woods and hunted and all this. And I'm like, I think it makes sense that you didn't ever see them when they say that. You weren't out there, trying to look for this. You were doing something else, whether it was hunting or hiking or, camping, whatever.
Yeah.
So, I think when I was lucky enough to, on my podcast, interview the late Dr. Jeff Meldrum, he explained to me that, like he gave out like a square footage of forests, and he talked about how you could take that amount of square feet, and I apologize for not knowing the number off the top of my head. But he was saying you could take that number and then take so many people, and they'd never even see each other in that square footage just in a certain period of time.
Yeah.
And, again, acidic rainforests, a lot of other things, scavengers, equate to why a lot of stuff isn't found.
Yeah.
Or
theoretically,
burials, all that kind of stuff. As far as the interdimensional part of it, aspect goes, I don't rule that out, and I don't dismiss it, and I don't, balk at anybody that talks about it, because what the hell do I know? So,
exactly.
same,
I feel the same way, Ben.
Yeah, I think, I think honestly, it deserves to continue the research, especially on, yes, it was a big loss. It was very sad. It deserves that continuous, microscope to look over every detail and for people to continue to do it. But I think it's arrogant in so many ways, especially people who have, claimed to spend so much time in the woods and whatnot. I'm 50. I've been in the woods a ton. Okay. And I know how loud we are as humans. Do I need to say anything else? You know what I mean? Like, Bigfoot's got ears, right? I think.
Yeah. Yeah. It can read. I think he can read your mind, but I think I think that's a great place to be in, where you're not going to discount or judge somebody, because they're making a decision off their own bias and their own experience, or, what they think they've learned. I'm kind of more in the camp of, I think it's a relic species that learned how to unlock our planet and unlock things in nature that we don't notice, we can't comprehend, whatever that might be. When you think of mushrooms and the, mycelium, I don't know if I said that right, but how there's so much connection between trees and those networks, that maybe there's something there that we don't know about. And maybe that's,
I think unequivocally there is, because, you can go back to, I think it's the very first episode of In Search Of with Leonard Nimoy in 76 or whatever. They were doing tests like that, from music sound to, measuring electricity passing through, plants and such, to down to Kirlian photography and things like that. I know that even on the market, you can buy these speakers that you connect to one plant and then maybe another, or the same plant, or whatever. And it plays what it calls its song, but it's probably some kind of frequency turned into a musical note, by some algorithm some person made. But I think there's a lot to be still considered and looked at, especially when it comes to, what we call in the Pacific Northwest Sasquatch, mind reading, to Dang, I'm drawing a blank, but maybe
Well,
you can help me on this. Is it
infrasound.
when when an animal projects a feeling onto you, like fear, they want you to fear them. I
Yes,
forget the
like
term.
like a telepathy, but for emotions.
Emotional
Yeah,
telepathy kind of thing. Yeah.
yeah,
Um, yeah. I mean, I think, I've always kind of played with the idea. I thought, well, if they're interdimensional or out of, just plain straight from a different planet and coming here, their planet must be somewhat similar. And I kind
yeah,
of feel like they have been assigned as almost like the guardians or monitors, like if you will, like they're
totally.
here to observe and report, and that's why they're trying to stay in a kind of,
Yeah.
a hidden fashion.
Well, when you look at a lot of stories and experiences over the years, loggers have experiences. One, they're out, in the boonies doing stuff. But I think of like, the experiences and the stories of Portlock, Alaska, where people were going missing and dying. It was when they started fishing the bay really hard and
Yeah,
mining and taking resources. And then there's a lot, I think you can go back through the, short history of mainstream Bigfoot sort of stories. And there is a lot to do with where resources are being taken or
yeah,
drawn out of the natural environment, that they do things, they act up. And so that would lend to your thought about being, some sort of protector or monitor for things. So I mean, I'm
well,
right there with you.
I would like to say right now, if there are any Sasquatch watching this show right now, help,
Yes.
help, report.
Yeah. Call somebody, darn it.
Yeah, phone a
Or
friend, bro.
quit making yourself so grainy on cell phone videos.
Yeah, stop that shit. Oh, sorry.
Yeah. Show up in 4K, man.
Exactly.
Um hey, Eve is checking in. Thanks for watching. Appreciate it. Um and Jason was wondering if you ever been to Hell's Gate in Canada.
I have not.
That sounds like a cool spot. Jason, have you been there? And then Michael, I appreciate the inquisitive pursuit when it comes to cryptids like Bigfoot, but at the same time, I think people should just leave them alone. Every species that humans involve themselves with gets ruined. Good
I mean,
point.
I see no argument there. I
Yeah.
mean, he speaks a truism.
Well, I just wonder, I had Ron Moorhead on my show before, and I asked, I think I asked him something about what if we do make contact and like you know up close and personal contact, and there's proof. We have
Mhm.
proof
Yeah,
now, right? Not just evidence, but proof. Um, would you be nervous if we actually found him and started communicating with him and being in contact? And I think he said he would be nervous for that
I
same
would be.
reason. And it's like, yeah, we just get proof, and then they can
Yeah,
go do their thing.
yeah. I mean, I've been out to I think it's Lincoln City's Ripley's Believe It or Not museum, wax museum, and they
Yeah,
have
yeah.
that big, wax statue of Sasquatch, and I have a picture somewhere taken on a phone of me acting like I'm plucking a hair off of him. And I always, thought about this scenario, like, what if I were to run into a Sasquatch and like they're actually interacting friendly, and what have you, and they're communicating with me. I mean, I might, for just myself, I might say, hey, can I have a couple hairs? But I don't think I'd give them over to be anybody, to be honest, because again, like my brother Michael said, um, we ruin things, man.
Yeah, yeah. No,
I might
it'd be.
even not even ask for the hairs because, I mean, I'm
I
human
just want
too.
to know. I just want to know for myself.
Yeah,
I want to see one, and if I can communicate one with, that's great. Well, let me
yeah.
flip this over. Um, Jason's got a good question. Hang on. Could Bigfoot be a conjured spirit that protects lands and people? Thoughts? I
Anything's
Sure.
possible.
I think so.
I don't think he's a spirit, but that's just my thoughts.
Yeah. Well, I think that maybe, people become ghosts.
Why
Maybe
not? Yeah,
why not Bigfoot, right? Why
yeah,
not Sasquatch become a
sure.
spirit? And so I think that's probably pretty possible. Just like, you lose your pet, you lose your dog or your cat, and then you may have experiences where you see them or you
Yeah,
hear them,
yeah.
hear their
And
call
then
or something. Same
and then
same
again,
sort of
is
thing.
the ghost thing maybe a human thing only though? I mean, I know that, and I'm not saying, like, I have a lot of friends like Karen Anderson and so on and so forth that communicate with loved ones and pets and such, and so I'm not dismissing them. What I'm saying is, like, theoretically, then maybe the reason why there is no ghosts that people are accounting for with, say, Bigfoot is because maybe it doesn't apply to them. I don't know.
Oh yeah, that's an interesting thought. Um, yeah, Eve's saying she was in an area in Arkansas and said there were 3 sightings of Bigfoot. Um, who I would be worried they would be dissected by science. Absolutely. Brian Blackwood. Hey, what's up, man? Thanks for checking in. Good friend of the show. It's that maybe he's a forest/wilderness spirit. I think that just as ghosts or people become ghosts, from my experience, I think Bigfoot, could leave energy behind, or be a spirit of sorts.
Well, here's the thought I have on this, right, with regards to a spirit or ghost, what have you. Um, so we're finding, proof, physical evidence of something that we believe is to be Sasquatch. And,
Right.
from knocking to the kinds of calls to footprints, um,
Hairs, unidentified
hairs.
hairs.
I mean, debatably, yes, hairs. Um, we're not finding that with ghosts or spirits. So
Yeah.
what's the difference then?
Well, if so, I would say in that case that you've stumped me. Um, I don't know. That's a great
You know,
question. Maybe, uh,
it's just food for thought is all, I mean, think
maybe
about,
because they're
I try to dissect things, not to use my mother's words there, but not with science necessarily, but just with logic and and curiosity. And I just want to know, um, I tell everybody, especially my children, I say, never stop asking questions.
yeah,
And I think that's imperative. I think if we're going to be, especially in life, nothing to do with the paranormal, but then in the paranormal, definitely also as well, you know,
yeah. Well, how do we learn and how do we become enlightened? It's through being curious and making
and open
mistakes
minded.
and
Yeah.
and being
And
open-minded and
yeah,
yeah,
applying good critical thinking techniques, things like that.
yeah.
And to answer my mother with regards to them being solitary creatures, I mean, it seems safe to say that they seem like they are. It's not like we see, oh man, look at that pack of big feet running by.
Yeah. Big feet. Um,
I had to pluralize them somehow.
yeah. Um, yeah, who knows? I think there's family units, but I think,
Oh
it's
yeah,
ice. I think they could be kind of tribal in a sense,
yeah,
and really, kind of more isolated tribalism, clans, think of
yeah,
like clans in the UK 2,000, 3,000 years ago.
yeah.
They're really spread out.
I think what you said, like, like familial, they have families and stuff. I think that's possible. Maybe like pods, small
Yeah.
group, like you said, tribe even, because like some of the most compelling videos, if you want to call it evidence, I've ever seen was, the stuff that was in the Blue Mountains that Paul Freeman was
Yeah.
recording on camcorder back in the late 90s, I think it was, and that looked like a small family, you know. So
Yeah.
I
I think
I
it's
concur.
possible.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, hey, I wanted to talk about being a skeptic and a believer at the same time. And through your experience, as we were just talking, just with cryptids, I think there's a value to both sides of that. When we're thinking of paranormal investigation, um, I don't like the term ghost hunting, but when we're talking about paranormal investigation and we're searching for ghosts, we're searching for that evidence. What's kind of the upside to being a believer, and then vice versa, the upside to being a skeptic, and however you want to answer that, if it's like your top things you think of as far as a pro, but what is it about being a believer that is good?
Positive. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, I think uh, because if we go to the reason for why someone's probably a believer, I hope that there really isn't just anybody that just came out of the womb and said, "Good man, I believe in ghosts." You know, I personally think like um, it's dependent on serious experience,
Yeah.
personal experience.
Personal experience. Yeah.
So saying that the individual has had those, the reason being a believer would be a good thing is because you become a resource and a family unit, or just a therapeutic component to other people out there who have done and had the same similar,
Yeah.
but maybe don't deal with it as well as maybe say you might, or that person might. They may struggle and they're fearful, and it
Yeah.
torments them a bit. They may find a lot more comfort and knowledge and understanding, hearing it from somebody else. Hey, yo, you're not dying, dude. It's like a panic attack, but you're not dying.
Yeah.
So you know I think that's kind of a good thing about it. The other thing is, now at this point in time in our society, it's a very open conversation, whereas like in the 80s and
Right.
70s, 80s on, earlier, it was more taboo, and people balked at you, and
Yeah, you're crazy.
yeah.
Yeah. No, I think yeah, I agree with everything. I think being a believer keeps you more I think you have a healthy open-mindedness as a believer, because you might have a tendency to believe in something through experience, something that's totally different than a ghost experience or something. But I think it
Right.
keeps you with an open mind, and I do at the beginning of my ghost walks, I go kind of through the spectrum of raise your hand if you're an open skeptic. You're open to the open to having an experience, but you want to have some evidence to back up your experience. Uh, Audio, photograph, and video, maybe all three. Um,
Yeah.
and then so people raise their hand, then I'll say, okay, who's a believer in the paranormal? When people raise their hand, I'll say, keep your hand up if it's because you've had an experience. It
Right.
almost never changes.
Yeah.
And it just
Their
goes
hand stays up.
to the personal experience is
Mhm.
so impactful. And so I think it's good to question, well, why is somebody a believer?
Yeah.
What
Well, and
happened?
and to answer that other half, right, about being a skeptic, the positive to that, or the uptick to it, is like, um uh we've seen this, I guess, century after century, if you will. um Charlatans galore.
Yeah,
um
it's
it's
human nature,
inevitable.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's human nature. There are the people out there that just want to make up stuff. So having a skeptical mind, especially now with AI, and we've been dealing with Photoshop and CGI for a hot minute now, but like, you know, you can never stop sharpening that tool of skepticism.
Yeah.
Never.
Yeah. Agreed. Agreed. I think, I'm more skeptical of the living than the dead. I joke about that often.
Oh,
The dead,
that's also true.
the dead generally don't seem to lie,
No, they have no
unless they have
reasons.
ill intent. But
Mhm.
the living do. And
Yeah,
Michael's got a great comment here. Believer's mind is more open to things that fall into the realm of faith. Sure,
sure. Yeah.
exactly.
And Robin,
Um,
yeah, I mean, they do still think I'm crazy.
yeah,
But what do you do? At least I've got you folks.
that's the community of shared
There you go.
experience.
See, and there's Jason.
Yeah, I know, and I know he's a believer. Michael's got another great comment. The downside is that believers are more likely subject to cognitive
Yeah.
bias.
And
Skeptics are
and Michael,
objective.
yeah, Michael knows this very well. We talk about this every time the league works together. It's a constant battle. You're constantly having to tell yourself, and Michael's no different in that respect. He has to battle those
Yeah,
same things. Those urges to, hey, whoa, I want to believe that, right? But yeah, we have to constantly examine everything thoroughly.
yeah,
And it's just because there are so many ways to fake things and everybody's
yeah,
on top of doing it now.
yeah,
So
yeah. It's
I
so
haven't joined those forums yet.
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not
Uh,
gonna.
yeah, Brian's agreeing. As long as there have been people, there have been grifters for
Yeah.
sure. So when you're doing a paranormal investigation at a haunted location, um, I guess you were kind of touching on bias. Michael's touching on bias, and I just don't think there's any way to like get around that. Um, there's no way to completely get around that. I think it is really hard for each of us individually, and I don't mean this in a negative way or anything, but we can't truly check our ego at the door,
Yeah.
going into a place too. So what's kind of some things that you think about when you go in, you've got somebody who's, got some claims, you've done an interview, you've decided that this is something I'm going to investigate. Being a believer, what are some of the things that you kind of tell yourself when you're going into do an investigation? And is it depending on the claims? Is it dependent on the claimant? Like how freaked out are they? Like what are some things that you tell yourself as a believer? I'm going to go in and I'm going to look for this and I'm going to just see what I capture. Is it more of like, do you just tell yourself to, you just want to capture as much of the environment as you can and get the information and then make a decision on anything you find that's odd in that data. You know what I mean? Like, what are you telling
Yeah.
yourself when you're going in?
I'll preface two things. One, I'll share a thing you see every so often on Facebook, and then the other thing is a real quick story about an investigation that ties very much into this answer I'll give you. The
Okay.
first one is Facebook, right? You follow all these paranormal groups across the world, and often you see, can't wait to see what evidence we got tonight. And it's like, bro, whoa, bump your brakes. Like you haven't even gone yet. How do you know you're going to even have any evidence? That frame of mind, right?
Yeah.
So there's that. And that's again the arrogance of being a human and fallible. Just like Casey has talked, and I know other people have talked about this, but we're poor observers in the dark. So like when people say I investigate only in the dark and all that, and I'm like, well, I mean, that's fine. I'm not saying there's any right or wrong way, but you're kind of doing yourself a disservice too. But
Yeah.
then the story is my first nonprofit, paranormal and occult research team. My co-founder and I were in Sublimity, Oregon, at an investigation. We had spent a lot of time working with the client and researching. And so we're finally there. Now, this home was steeped with a lot of claims, and it was well over 100 years old. And it had a colorful checkered past as well that helped support those claims. We go up into the upstairs bathroom, which at one point was, I believe, an infirmary, kind of like in the Walker Ames off that master bedroom, right?
Yeah, that powder room. Yeah.
Yeah, the powder room. Yeah. So my co-founder walks up to the shower. Now, mind you, there's no claims, nothing, right? Up to this point, my co-founder had been essentially an armchair enthusiast, and now was actually getting to dig his heels in and do an investigation. And we're standing there looking at him face to face, and he's got the shower curtain and he's getting ready to open it, and he's looking at me like, oh God, right? And he whips it open, and there's nothing, of course, there. And he looks at me and then later goes, I was so disappointed. I'm like, why set yourself up for that? So when I go into an investigation, I do some grounding and centering. I believe that's smart. I am a believer. So that does mean that I believe that there are good and bad energies or spirits or whatever. So I'm all about protecting myself, in any form or fashion. And I'm also trying to get myself straight, mentally, my head in the game. But I also am telling myself, pay attention, Ben. Really, you need to, keep yourself in check. You are a believer, but, I'm a skeptical believer, just like my mom said Houdini was. So I just try to apply that every time. And I do it even when I do research. I also do it when I do analysis, because again, I can't tell you how many times I've had people come to me with some form of, medium, not a psychic medium, but like, tape,
audio,
hard drive, saying, here, I want to know what you think of this. And it's just like, it's easy to understand if you remove some of that desire to just want everything to be like the TV shows. Every show's got a ghost. Every show's got a demon, and it's just not like that in real life.
That you get that expectation, and, when you're looking for something so hard, you're going to find it. In some way you'll believe you've found it. And I think that's half of paranormal experience is,
I agree.
Because everyone's, if you're going to a public, or a historical location or public location, chances are you're going there because you've heard of it, and you've heard of the stories, and you've heard of the claims, and maybe you've seen something online, some video clips or some audio clips or whatever. And so you're going to go in with that expectation. And I think that is, that's the bias right there. That's your bias,
Well, and to really think like, especially going back to sites that are purportedly and infamously known to be supposedly haunted, right? Let's take the Walker Ames. Let's put that on blast right here. Those poor damn spirits. Like, how many people have regurgitated the same crap going into there, right? I mean, we talk about how they are humans and whatnot. I mean, talk about like how many teams have gone into these asylums and such.
They say the same things.
They're not sloppy seconds. They're sloppy 220 seconds, or more. I mean, and so the poor spirits there, if they're a conscious being, still energy that still feels, thinks, good Lord, I feel for them. That's got to be hell. That's still an asylum. They might be still suffering because of the living.
I had an experience on one of my ghost walk tours that speaks directly to that, because I tell the stories. I've since altered how I do it so that I'm outside when or I'm in the parlor of the place telling the stories. But I was in the attic of the Walker Ames house, and I had a large group with me, and I was kind of standing in the northeast corner, which has a wall that was never finished framed in, and kind of a corner in the attic.
I know exactly which one you're
Those
talking about. To
Okay,
the left
so
of the front window, right?
yeah, yes. And so I was standing in that kind of entryway into that space and nobody behind me. And I started to say, this was pretty early on in me doing the tours, but I would say the same stories and stuff. I'm giving a tour. And I started to talk, and a woman just talked right over me really loud as soon as I started to, this is the attic, and right over here, oh God, again. And the voice I think came from behind me, because my initial body reaction was I turned around and looked behind me.
Yeah.
And because I thought, oh my gosh, was I just standing in front of somebody on the tour? Like, how rude, I'm like totally. And so I turned around, I was like, oh, I'm sorry, excuse me. And then there was nobody there, and the group was kind of looking at me, and the people that were closest to me that were ladies were like, that was not us. That was not us.
That's rad.
Um,
And
and then
very telling.
from that moment, I apologized. After that, I said, I'm sorry, you're hearing the same thing. Brian, you're not helping here by saying how rude. If
This
you're
is
saying it was me that was being rude, maybe. But anyways, I apologized. And since then, I don't tell the stories in the attic.
yeah.
And I think that has helped. But no, I think you're right. When you're going to these places, I think, a lot of the famous locations that I think are really haunted, I think people have a lot of genuine experiences, but I kind of wonder if it's the living that has, I don't know what the right term is, apported some of these experiences in there. Like,
Well,
people looking for things so hard, they leave that energy there, and then the next team picks up on a piece but it was deposited there from the living. You know what I
yeah.
mean?
Well, yeah.
Uh,
And not only that, if I may very loosely kind of just reference parapsychology, um, the human element needs to be involved for observation, right? I mean, like, and people are like, well, what about when you leave a camera somewhere and whatnot? Well, that's still a human element. The human put that there, and whatnot. So, and we're watching it later on. So, I really think that are those are key ingredients to those experiences happening, is the living human, right? Because how funny would that be to, you're in a parlor as a ghost, you're dead, and you're like walking along, you're like, oh, new ghost, watch
yeah.
this, bro. Oh, and scare it, right? Ghost scaring ghosts, really?
Oh, I love it. I love it. I got a couple interesting comments. Lynn Juno, another show host, Sacred Spiral Network. Eureka Springs has very mystical energy. I think for sure there's lots of places that have
Yeah,
something to it. I mean, Port Gamble's one of them. I think when you show up in town here, you feel it. You
yeah,
feel something different. A great friend of the show here, Mary Bethune. It's exactly what happened to me before she went to Bob Mackey's. I psyched myself out, got there, and was like, what? Totally expecting ghosts and demons everywhere.
yeah.
Um,
And I love you, Mary. You're a great person, and this is why I love Mary, is because she's real like that. I mean,
yeah,
it's um if I may real quick go on a little side tangent kind of regarding
sure.
that. I've reconnected with some past paranormal peeps, friends, colleagues recently, and it's been great. Um, but one of the things I found interesting is, I hear often, "Hey Ben, I like that you keep it real, but I thought you also hated me." So and so I want to address that real fast, and I think it's pertinent to what we're speaking on. But like, I'm a very humble, very grounded guy. And that's why I said what I said about Mary, because I know Mary very well, and she's super grounded, just like you, Pete. And we're real people who are willing to look ourselves in the mirror and say, "Hey, I bought. What was that piece of crap you bought, Pete? You still have it too. It was supposed
Oh,
to be the top of the line.
God, what was that called? I
Oh,
can't even
man,
remember what it was
I wanted
called.
that thing so bad. So I'm saying this to everybody listening right now. I'm no different,
Yeah,
I may have strong opinions online, and yes, I will keep that energy if I see you in person, but that's not a threat. It's just meaning I'm passionate, is all.
yeah,
Um, and so being real and grounded means things like what Mary said about Peace Place, where you get psyched out, you go in, and those things happen, just like what happened with my co-founder. I was just like, dude, don't do that to yourself. And I say that to myself.
yeah. And that right there is checking your ego, or
Yes,
being conscious of your
exactly.
ego and being able to be like,
Egos
okay, well,
are
that
the
was
number
dumb.
one killer of paranormal research, hands
Yeah,
down.
yeah,
Fight me.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Hold my beer.
Yeah, change my mind.
Yeah, I mean that's such a huge thing. We got some great comments, Brian. I think respect goes a long way, not just for the ghost, if there are any, because he's skeptical, but for the host and the place itself. We're gonna
Yeah.
change one of these days, Brian. You're gonna have that experience that changes things, and plus, it's nice to get invited back. Um, I like Michael saying a structure is never haunted until someone says it is. If no one goes in, it's like the tree falling in the forest and no one's around.
Exactly.
Schrodinger's cat too,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I think, that is an element that has to be a part of the equation. I think spirits select who they reveal themselves to, and they're very fickle about when and how they do it.
And
I
honestly, that has a lot of credence, because we talk about things like, deathbed,
Yeah,
confessions, or
near death
I mean, there's all
experiences, or
sorts of different scenarios that you can play this into, but like, yeah, they are um probably being selective, just like when homegirl told you, not again, Pete.
yeah. Well, and they're being selective just as we are in our living skin suits,
Yeah,
right? We're
exactly.
selective too, right?
Hmm.
I'll
Yeah,
tell you, I might open up to you and tell you a story, but I'm not going to tell somebody I don't know very well,
I
you
definitely for
know.
sure am not telling Mary.
Don't.
Way.
She
She'll
says
kick my
thank
butt.
you. Michelle, they love Mary. She's fiery. Jason's truth. The Michael's got I think the great point here that the
Yep,
common
yep.
denominator is always the living.
I see
Yeah,
no falseness in that at all.
yeah. But
Absolutely.
that's something that you have to, being a believer and skeptical at the same time. That's probably one of the most foundational things you should think about, is
Yeah,
the living, and not just the people in the house that are having issues and you're going to investigate, but yourself too. Like we were saying, you got to be able to look in the mirror.
yeah,
And so, yeah, common denominator, Jason, I think spirits are selective as well. Yeah, I mean, I think so too. It's our personality. And I believe, and this is my experience with doing mediumship, is you take elements of your personality, if not your whole personality, with you. And if you exist and are able to somewhat exist somewhat in this plane, you had to be living at some point, or
right.
I don't know.
Relatable.
It's an interesting thought, and yeah, yeah. I don't know if my internet's going weird here, but we're
I
both
don't know.
disappearing and
Yeah, it's
appearing.
it's
So I guess we're ghosts now.
yeah.
We're-
We're in the ether.
well, we're out of time. It's
Quitting time.
I got to have you back on, Ben. I always love talking to you. Yeah, it's quitting time, but I'm just grateful to have you on. Grateful to be your friend and know you, and um, always fascinating conversation.
Yeah.
Jason said, "You're losing me." Yeah, it must be ghosts. It's a demon.
I just want to
Um,
say real quick too, Pete, that I think very, very much of you as a friend, a colleague, and somebody I very much respect, and I appreciate all that you do.
oh, thanks.
Um, no, Richard, I am not going to say it. You got to pay a lot more
That's
than
right.
20 bucks. See the
That's
Steelers.
right.
Anyways,
That's right. I
um,
knew you wouldn't be a Niners guy. You're a Steelers
no.
guy.
And so, you know, people like Richard, though, in all honesty, and his brother Jason, and you, and I mean, a slew. I mean, I cannot think how everybody's been very supportive of me as of late. And so I just want to say thanks, especially to you, Pete. You having me on here tonight is a good
Yeah.
distraction for me. And I always love talking about this stuff and hanging
Yeah.
with you, my man.
Absolutely, Ben, anytime. And sending much good energy to you and good energy to everybody out there with us tonight. Again, just so grateful for having Ben on, and for everybody participating, and for everybody who's going to be watching this after the live show but watching the replay. I want to thank you guys too. And Ben, I leave every show with a quote. I had one on my original show on a different network, but I've got a new quote this time. And I think this will especially hit home for you and many out there. There's a lot going on, there's just a lot going on out there, and it's I take this for how you will, but I leave every show with this, and it is a quote from my wonderful wife Molly, that the earth is heavy, but the universe is light. When met with stress or sorrow or even overwhelming joy, know that today is the history of tomorrow. Accept it for what it is and move forward into the brightness of the next moment.
I love it. That's awesome.
And I'll leave that
Tell Molly,
with
tell Molly,
everybody.
thank you, and I say
Yeah,
hi. Yeah, that's rad. I like
I
that.
will. It's so cool. And so I hope everybody takes that with you. My next show is going to be September 16th, I believe, is mid-month there. And we'll probably be doing some readings with a guest. Not really sure yet, but it'll be mid-September. And everybody saying great show. Thank you guys. Thank you. But yeah, I'll see you mid September for my next show. I'll be celebrating anniversary next week, and looking forward to just having some time off. I hope everybody gets a moment to breathe, be there, present in the moment, and remember that today's the history of tomorrow, right? Accept it for what it is, and move forward into the brightness of the next moment. And with that, I bid you all adieu. And Ben, if you want to hang on. And I'm got to work all the tech here, which is not my strong suit, but thanks everybody. Thanks for tuning in. sacredspiralnetwork.com, Facebook, Paranormal Pete Show. We'll see you next time. Y'all take care.